Hi, all you Try Mamas. Thanks for joining me today. You might have seen that I recently made a video about how I used a macronutrient based diet to lose weight earlier this year and how much I lost. Specifically, that most of the weight I lost was fat, almost all of it, actually. If you haven't seen that video, check it out. I just posted it a few days ago. But if you're like me, you might be a person who has a hard time losing weight and not just losing it, but keeping it off once you do lose it. I have always had a hard time with keeping my body lean, and I naturally am a very muscular person as well, a little on the tall side. But my body fat is currently at about 21%. I do intend to try to lean down a little bit more, maybe 1 or 2% down if I can healthfully do that by next summer as I try to achieve my first Ironman finish. However, I am very happy and healthy at the 21% body fat I'm at right now. So the video I made was about how I lost the weight and what did the macronutrient ratio look like for me. And what are the other tips, that helped me with my success for losing the weight. However, today I'm here to talk about something I did not mention in that video, which is another really helpful thing if you're trying to lose weight as an endurance athlete and specifically as a triathlete, but this could be for anybody who's an endurance athlete at all, even if you're a marathoner or an endurance swimmer or anything like that. But it's specifically for triathletes. But I am going to talk to you a little bit about my thoughts on some books that I recently purchased. Actually, I didn't recently purchase these. I purchased them a few years ago, but I utilized them a lot during my diet overhaul, I guess you could say. So the book that I'm talking about, the reading book anyway, is called Racing Weight. This is it. It's by Matt Fitzgerald. Matt Fitzgerald is awesome. He's very knowledgeable. So this book is very helpful in losing weight for endurance athletes. So basically what it covers is, helpful information for how you can lose weight and specifically fat. But not just that, it also is very helpful at explaining how excess muscle slows us down as endurance athletes as well. A lot of people think, oh, muscle is good to have. Well, it is, but there is such a thing as being overly muscular when it comes to endurance athletics. So being very muscular is good for some sports, especially sports that are where you have short bouts of speed. But all in all, endurance athletics, especially triathlon, and particularly long course triathlon, half Ironman, full Ironman distances, a pound that you have to carry is a pound that you have to carry over the course. So if it's made out of muscle, yes, the pound is better if it's made out of muscle than fat. But there is a point where, and everyone's body is different, but there's a point where even muscle can be detrimental. So I am, like I said, a very naturally muscular person. And unfortunately, I think that I'm probably going to have to sacrifice some of my muscle mass. But I'm not going to try to do that. I'm going to let that happen on its own, and it will happen on its own throughout the endurance training for my full Ironman. But that's not what I'm talking about. Today, I want to talk about how this book, Racing Weight by Matt Fitzgerald, helped me with understanding not just how muscle can be detrimental as well as fat, but all kinds of things about how endurance athletes lose weight and how to tell if it's a good fat composition or weight altogether for you. So first of all, in the beginning of this book, it talks about how to calculate your optimal fat and your optimal body weight. So it's going to give you a chart of body fat based on your age, and it's going to tell you based on the percentage of body fat. So you do need body composition testing before you're going to do this. Based on that body composition, so that much fat, so 21% for me. I'm almost 40 years old, so you have to look that bracket for the age and for the body fat, and it'll tell you if you need to improve, how much you should improve, and also based on that body fat, what would your ideal racing weight be? So it's very helpful to understand what is a good weight for you, especially based on your current body fat, and what is a good body fat to try to achieve. It's not going to try to just get you to be like wafy, skinny, and lose every pound you possibly can, because that's not healthy and that's not necessarily going to make you go faster. So, some other really helpful things in this book, it talks about how to not overeat. And I know that sounds ridiculous. Well, don't eat so much. Well, it's not as simple as it sounds. A lot of us, especially when we're training a lot, get really hungry and we end up overeating before we even knew we were overeating. Just because you went out and burned 1,000 calories doesn't mean you can go home and just gorge on whatever junk you can find around the house. And a lot of us are so hungry by the time we finish a workout that we literally will stuff our face with whatever is in front of us. So this book helps explain some good ways for you to avoid doing that. There's also sample food journals. So it'll give you, it'll tell you how to journal your food and why it's a good idea, but also some samples of what does a good day look like based on, your workout, like what was a good snack, breakfast, lunch, it goes through the meals. And then it also points at what are some areas to improve. So it gives you one that's really good, one that's so-so, one that's really bad, and it explains, well, how could this person have swapped something out in place of this to help, better utilize those calories. So that's really good and helpful. Another thing is nutrient timing. So to avoid overeating, it's important for us to take in our macronutrients more so, like more carbs earlier in the day, less carbs in the evening, timing around workouts, how to eat around a workout, specifically how many calories we need from carbs for a workout. It explains all that. And a lot of us are just stabbing in the dark. We don't know anything. We're just going on what we hear from somebody. And we don't really know what we really should be doing. So we're just kind of guessing. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. So if you can't afford a nutritionist, this book is still going to give you a lot of helpful information, more bang for your buck for the price you're going to pay for this book. And then also there's helpful information on how to determine if you're getting enough protein. A lot of us who don't carry a lot of muscle don't need quite as much protein as those of us who do carry a lot of muscle. But regardless, endurance athletes do need protein and a good amount. So there's some charts in there that will explain how to tell if you're getting enough. And then also there's some information in there as to what kinds of proteins, what sources of protein are better. Also, what sources of carbs are better. So high quality carbs are really important, especially when we're endurance training. It explains how and why you need more carbs per pound of body weight as your training volume increases. So if you're training for a short race, a sprint, or an Olympic distance race, you don't need as many calories from carbs per pound of your body weight as you do if you're training for a longer race. If your volume is really high, if you're running and biking a lot per week, you need more calories per pound. So that ratio actually goes up as your training volume increases. So there's really nice explanation for how that is and why it is. There's some samples of what the pros eat. There's actually like pages that is a full day in the life of a pro, and quite a few of them for different pro triathletes, and explains what they eat, what are their go-to snacks and breakfasts and lunches and all that, which is really nice to see. Not that we're pros, but maybe we want to eat like a pro. And then there's also at the end of the book, there's strength training exercises for triathletes, which is really helpful because I know a lot of us are kind of like, well, I know I should be doing strength training, but I don't really know what kind of strength training I should do. There are moves that are specific to our sport that are really beneficial for us as triathletes. And so this book has quite a few pages at the end of the book with just those strength training exercises. And then lastly, at the end, it does have a few recipes for some things that you might want to try to make as a triathlete. But it's just a very small section of just some sample recipes, just some things maybe you would want to try. So that's the book, Racing Weight by Matt Fitzgerald. However, when I bought this, this actually has another book that comes with it. I bought it as a set. You can buy them separately. I don't know that they sell them as a set anymore. The cookbook is the other book. So this is Racing Weight Cookbook. So I bought these as a set. Like I said, I'm not sure that they come as a set anymore. I am leaving a link to these books on Amazon in the description of this video. So if you want to check these out on Amazon, the link is just down there in the description. So check that out if you want to find these on Amazon. The cookbook, this cookbook, whether you're trying to lose weight or not, this cookbook is so awesome. This is like literally legit my favorite cookbook. As you can see, it's well used. These are my tabs for all my recipes that I go to regularly. But I probably have made at least 3/4 of the recipes in this book. But this is Matt Fitzgerald and Georgie Fear co-wrote it with him. So Matt Fitzgerald and Georgie Fear, they made this book together. But it's really awesome because it's broken into 3 sections. The first section is I don't really cook a lot and I am only willing to make things that are really simple. A lot of people are like, I don't know how to cook. I don't need a cookbook. Well, this first section is like no brainer. Like, can you make mac and cheese? Yeah, okay, then you can make what's in this section. All right. The second section is, oh, I know how to cook. I don't have a lot of experience, but I know how to cook. You know, most people fall into that category. And the third section is, I love to cook. I'm an avid cook. Okay, I'm going to tell you that I don't think I'm like an amazingly experienced cook. I do like to cook a lot and I know a lot, but the third section is supposed to be like for the advanced cook, and I don't think it's really for advanced cooks. I don't think it's that hard. So it could just be me and the way I feel about it. But anyway, that's a nice thing is it's broken down in those 3 sections, and each one of those sections is broken down again into 3 sections that are breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I think there's actually a snack section in there too. So if you're looking for something in particular, I want something for breakfast that's easy to cook. There was a section for you. So it's super easy to find. So just to give you some samples of like my favorite recipes, this is one of my go-to breakfasts, especially on a big long run day or sometimes even on a race day. Blueberry walnut pancakes. These are really good and they're high protein. I like protein in the morning. I get kind of shaky and I don't feel so well if I don't get a decent amount of protein. These pancakes are made with oats and egg whites and cottage cheese. So they're super high protein and there's actually not any whole wheat flour or anything like that in them. They're oatmeal. So that's awesome. Savory zucchini pancakes, even though it says pancake, these aren't like breakfast pancakes. These are more like a zucchini omelet, like a cheesy zucchini omelet. But these are amazing too. These are one of my favorite recipes in here too. And then this is one of my favorite dinners. Soba noodles with asparagus and mushrooms is so good. So yeah, this does require beef. So if you're vegetarian, there are vegetarian recipes in here, but this one is amazing, especially if you like asparagus and mushrooms. And if you're the kind of person who doesn't really eat a lot of carbs, you don't necessarily have to put the noodles in this, but this recipe is amazing. But one of the nicest things about this cookbook is that every recipe tells you the macronutrient breakdown. Hence, why this is so helpful if you are trying to eat based on macronutrients. It tells you how many servings it makes, and it tells you in a serving how many grams of carbs, how many grams of protein, how many grams of fat, how many calories. So the work is done for you. You don't have to guess anything. You don't have to measure and weigh and all that kind of stuff. You know, like when you do food prep and you're eating based on macronutrients and you have to measure and weigh everything as you dish it up or whatever. This, yes, you have to measure and weigh the ingredients as you add them, but that once that's done, you don't have to worry. You can enter it in to your food journal and you know how many grams of fat, how many grams of carbs, how many grams of protein are in there, and they're all very healthy foods and delicious foods. So anyway, Racing Weight Cookbook by Matt Fitzgerald and Georgie Fear. Again, I'm going to put the link to both of these in the description for this video. Very helpful. I hope that this was good information for you. These cookbooks are, the cookbook and the book to read are awesome. And by the way, the book, the Racing Weight book, is 200 before the index, and the reference is, I was going to tell you how long it is, 259 pages, and that includes the actual workouts. That's the appendix with the workouts. If you don't include that, it's 239 pages. So it's it's a pretty easy read. Nothing crazy, but hey, it's off season, so this is the time to get going on this kind of stuff. We gotta always be learners, lifelong learners, and this is the time you dial in good eating habits, drop some fat, whatever you need to do before you kick your butt in 2021 season. Hopefully we'll all have an awesome 2021 season. And thank you for watching this video. Definitely give it a thumbs up and like it. If you found it helpful, please share it with your friends. Subscribe to my channel if you want more videos like this. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.